Hi there, hope you're having a good day. Welcome back to another video. So I've been wanting to put up a list like this for a while, and today we're going to talk about 5 basketball shoes that keep on getting better over time. I'll explain what I mean by that. Some shoes are just about average or even mediocre when you first got them. Then they gradually improve as you keep playing in them. Some might have poor traction, bad stability initially, but with more playing time, that particular aspect became so much better. Well, based on my experience, that is. Hope that makes sense. There are a lot of shoes like that. I picked out 5 of the newer releases, or at least they should be all available still. My point is, if you've been considering getting a pair, but you're worried about certain issues, I wanted to make this update so you know that these ones will continue to get better until you have a great experience on the court. Let me know if you want to see more shoes that are like this. I guess it's sort of an opportunity for me to do an update on some of these as well. Don't forget to consider subscribing if you enjoy the content here on this channel. All right, let's get right into it. First one up, I want to go way back to, I think, 2 years ago when they first released. You should still be able to find it at like a Nike factory store, Nike clearance store, something like that. Some retailers might still have a few sizes, and that is the GT Cut 2. I'm pretty sure I emphasized this in my video like 2 years ago. Just give it some time. There are mainly 2 things that need some breaking in. One is the core feel or smoothness of your movements. Given the drop-in midsole setup, with the hard shell, you're not going to feel the cushion all too much in the beginning, while the shoe feels a little bit elevated. Only as you keep playing in them, you can feel these starting to become more and more stable on feet. Second thing is, traction was meh, not as squeaky also. This smear traction thing they did can be hit or miss, but later on I've concluded that there was never really a problem with the way it grips. I'll give you another example. The Kyrie 8, the last Nike Kyrie that got cancelled, they used a similar type of outsole, and that traction has been elite since day one. Anyways, I know the GT Cut 2 is a very polarizing shoe, to say the least. I think if you're planning to hoop in them as your main go-to shoe, then you're good to go. But for those who are not very patient about having to break in the shoe slowly, sometimes I'm like that too, then there are other options out there. Wide footers, maybe just avoid it to be safe. They are on the narrower side, and if the fit isn't right, that might not even be solved. Keep in mind that some Nike hoop shoes can be the other way around. Like the GT Cut 3, Zoom X loses a little bit of that crazy bounciness and heel cushion with more usage. Dust pickup also becomes an issue. If you think about it, Jaylen Brown wears his corny customs of the GT Cut 2 every single game. Shoes of the finals MVP. So yeah, an old pick, but the first shoe that comes to mind when I think of shoes that get better over time, GT Cut 2. And now the focus of this video, I wanted to update you on my experience playing in the Anta KAI 1. First off, traction improves slowly. It wasn't bad, but as we speak, I'm at a fully confident level when it comes to using these on clean courts, dusty courts, anywhere I go. If you prefer to have a loud squeak on your hoop shoes, the 2 colorways that I have, basically an identical outsole. They never really squeaked a bit, to be honest. However, that's not an indicator of the performance in this case. So there's still the silent but effective type. I've used these more and more in different gyms, including very dusty floors. And I gotta say, the grip became stronger than how it felt in the beginning. That was one good thing. Another thing has to do with the core feel. I mentioned that as a guard shoe, I thought they went a little overboard with the cushion. Don't get me wrong, it's got great cushion. It is deliciousness when you press down on that nitro edge foam, but it's not so much of a low to the ground setup. Weight is also heavier than average, believe it or not. I'm actually a big fan of a lot of the Nike Kyries. It's no surprise that they're very popular choices by all different kinds of hoopers. Decently priced, nothing crazy, but gets the job done. Here with Anta's product, I think we should put the hype aside and just appreciate the shoe in itself without drawing too much comparisons to his older signature shoes. Because over time, I got completely used to the weight. Not being lightweight actually helps make it a stable ride. I also felt like the midsole softens up and flexibility saw a slight increase too, so my movements became smoother. Yeah, KAI 1 might have been a B tier shoe at first. Now it's at least an A or A+, maybe even an S tier shoe. Definitely need to mention these. I do plan on using one of my pairs outdoors this summer, so I can update you on the also durability later too. Another shoe that possesses this characteristic, actually I wouldn't say it's disappointing anyway to begin with. Everything was good to go right from the start, but most people would need at least some time to get used to it. And that is the Fresh Foam BB V2 from New Balance. What you need to get used to is how high off the ground it is. Whether you like it or not, we're in the low top era of performance hoop shoes. Lightweight, low tops, low to the ground type of guard shoes have been flooding the market. So a lot of us are not going to be used to this stacked up midsole setup at first. From my experience, when I first got the purple pair, stability was iffy. When I was transitioning from front to back or lifting my feet up, it even felt shaky at times. I remember like 3 to 4 sessions in, I was totally used to it. In fact, when you're playing in them, that's not an issue at all. The base is on the wider side. Materials on the 2 different colorways that I have are different, but both very supportive. So these all help to offset the high off the ground feeling. I never had a moment where I tripped or had an awkward stump in my movements playing in these. So yeah, don't worry, it's not too much bounciness or too stacked up on feet. It mostly just has to do with the other shoes in our rotation or ones that we're used to before. Like when I got my second pair, the dark gray colorway, I needed another long set or 2 to get used to it again because I was wearing a bunch of other shoes in between. So I kind of had to set myself back in with the Fresh Foam BB V2. But regardless, this is top-notch traction performance. You get a nice bounce, great impact protection, and it fits well for wide footers too. Great all-around performer. From one of the best brands right now, not just one of the best Chinese brands, Way of Weight shoes don't necessarily all have elite traction right out of the box. Most of their shoes have an amazing grip, crazy loud squeak, and the rubber just feels super grippy. But the AlsBeatz 12 can be questionable at the start, especially on dusty courts. I don't know if it's entirely due to the type of rubber compound used. Dust pickup was okay, but the first few times on my usual dusty court, there were some instances where I couldn't get a firm grip on the floor. I had a similar experience with the AlsBeatz 11. Anyways, traction does need some adjustment period. It's almost like you gotta let some layer of dust accumulate, then wipe it off. After that, it performs much better than the fresh pair. It squeaks more later on too. Cushion with full-length boom has been very consistent and great from the start. You get good core feel, good shock absorption, improved materials and durability with some weight reduction. We've talked about the AlsBeatz 12 many times in the past, so I won't be repeating all that here. These two, if I was to do a top 10 right now from all shoes, both of them will be on that list. See, it also proves the point that because some of these models are so performance driven, you just gotta give it some time to take full advantage of the good features. Fresh Foam BB V2 was stability. AlsBeatz traction on dust. But in both cases, these are not long-term issues. Last but not least, I want to bring up a budget shoe. These are like a pretty good from the start, really good after a while. I'm talking about the Adidas Dame Certified, Damian Lillard's budget shoe with a retail price of $95. In the case of both the Dame Certified 1 and 2, the initial problem wasn't traction, material, stability, it's the comfort and fit. Adidas basketball shoes typically run big, but the Dame Certified fits a little bit small. I still think going true to size would be the best option, but the first version is on the narrower side. 2.0 is a tiny bit more forgiving, but that's another snug fit. Now both versions do break in nicely after, let's say, 5 to 6 times to be safe. So I remember like last year, I had a friend who came over and we haven't played with each other since high school. He had to borrow a pair of shoes from me, Dame Certified. For that one time, he didn't fully break it in, obviously. I was bothering him a little bit, even though my pair was his true size. The problem with the first version is that it feels snug up front, but the collar area opens up more at the back end. So imagine a tight toe box fit with some heel slippage. However, once you break them in, this applies to both the 1 and 2. The parts that cause some soreness will loosen up, and heel slippage goes away slightly as well. Great shoe for the price. Both versions should be on sale as we speak. So those are the 5 shoes that are either somewhat decent, not so impressive, or have a specific concern in the beginning. But later on, they should only improve, if anything. GT Cut 2, my verdict on it stays the same. It didn't even deserve a lot of the hate that it was getting from what I saw online. Kai 1, nothing crazy still, but traction gets better slowly. Core feel felt nicer than my first couple of sessions playing in them, and I can now appreciate the cushioning setup and heavier weight. on a supposedly guard shoe like this. All City 12, don't be turned down by the traction on dust initially. Same thing with the Fresh Foam BB V2. Don't worry about that stability issue. You get used to it. Dame Certified 1 and 2, both versions, they're not like most other Adidas basketball shoes because you'll need to break in the tighter fit. Long story short, they do break in. Just give it some time. Please feel free to share your experience playing with any of these. Did you have a similar or different take on them? Let us know in the comments so we can have more perspectives. If you've had other shoes that got much better over time, share with us as well. We'll give them their flowers. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.